The Galactic Council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished obsidian, its vaulted ceiling displaying a real-time map of 700 civilized worlds. For 2 centuries, humanity had observed from the shadows of this grand assembly, never requesting a seat, never demanding recognition. They simply watched, listened, and took careful notes. Imogen Chen stood in the observation deck, her fingers tracing the edge of a data pad that held intelligence reports spanning decades. As Earth's silent ambassador, she had perfected the art of being invisible, a human ghost haunting the corridors of galactic power. Beside her, Isaac Morrison adjusted his translation matrix, his jaw tight with barely contained frustration. "They're voting on the Terra Quarantine Act," Isaac whispered, his eyes fixed on the council floor below. 40 years of protective measures wasn't enough. Now they want to make it permanent. Imogen didn't respond immediately. She had learned patience in these halls, had mastered the discipline of watching while others spoke. The council members, Crystalline Vexari, Gaseous Thornweave Collective, entities, and the arrogant Keltharn with their forearms and superiority complexes, debated humanity's fate as if humans were problematic children rather than a spacefaring civilization. "Contamination risk," declared High Arbiter Zixtherin, his mandibles clicking with condescension. "The humans breed too quickly, think too chaotically. Their emotional decision-making threatens the stability we've maintained for millennia." Laughter rippled through the chamber, not malicious but worse. Dismissive. Pitying. Isaac's hands clenched into fists. 200 years, Imogen. We've played by their rules, stayed quiet, proven we're not a threat. And still, they see us as children, Imogen finished softly. She pulled up another file on her datapad, watching centuries of human achievement reduced to footnotes in galactic history. They forget what children eventually do. What's that? They grow up. The vote proceeded exactly as expected. 437 voices in favor of permanent quarantine, 23 opposed. Earth would remain isolated, deemed too dangerous for full integration into galactic society. The council members congratulated themselves on their wisdom and mercy. Imogen tapped a single command into her datapad. Across human space, 200 years of silent preparation activated. The first indication something had changed came 3 hours later, when every council member's communication system simultaneously displayed the same message. Earth respectfully declines your quarantine. High Arbiter Zixtherin's confusion transformed into alarm when his sensors detected something impossible. Ships. Thousands of them appearing at the edges of council space through fold point technology the galaxy hadn't seen in 10,000 years. "Impossible," breathed Counselor Mevthas, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns of distress. "The humans don't have quantum fold capabilities. They barely achieved basic FTL 40 years ago." Imogen's voice cut through the council's emergency communication channel, clear and unnervingly calm. "You made 2 fundamental errors in your assessment of humanity. First, you assumed silence meant submission. Second, you confused patience with inability." On the main display, human vessels materialized around each of the Council's 7 defensive stations. Not warships. Humanity had spent 2 centuries building something far more devastating than weapons. "We call them archive ships," Isaac explained, his voice joining Imogen's transmission. "While you debated our worthiness, we studied. Every technology you considered commonplace, we reverse-engineered. Every ancient civilization you dismissed as extinct, we excavated and learned from. Every scientific principle you deemed beyond primitive understanding, we mastered." The display shifted, showing human settlements on worlds the Council had declared uninhabitable. Research stations in dimensional pockets the galactic community had abandoned as too dangerous. Human scientists working alongside refugee populations from species the Council had written off as evolutionary dead ends. "You see," Imogen continued, walking slowly toward the council chamber's main entrance. "Doors that had been sealed against. Human entry for 2 centuries. We understood something you forgot in your comfort and stagnation. Necessity doesn't just breed innovation. Contempt breeds determination." The chamber doors opened before her, not forced, but unlocked by Council security systems that now responded to human override codes. Imogen and Isaac stepped onto the Council floor for the first time in human history. Not as supplicants, not as junior members seeking approval, as equals who had earned their place through achievement rather than petition. Earth formally requests immediate repeal of the Quarantine Act, Imogen announced, her voice carrying across the stunned assembly. Not because we need your permission to interact with the galaxy. We've been doing that for decades through back channels you never noticed. We request it because we prefer cooperation to conflict. High Arbiter Zix Theron's mandibles trembled. This is an act of war. No, Isaac replied firmly. War is what happens when diplomacy fails. This is what happens when you ignore a civilization capable of matching your technology while you debate their inferiority. We're not here to threaten. We're here to negotiate. The silence that followed was profound. 700 worlds held their collective breath as humanity's true capabilities became undeniable. The quiet species, the ones dismissed as emotional and chaotic, had outpaced galactic civilization while bearing the insult of quarantine with stoic grace. You could have revealed this capability at any time, Counselor Mevthas finally managed. Why wait? Why endure the contempt? Imogen smiled, a patient, knowing expression that carried the weight of 2 centuries of careful planning. Because rushing to prove ourselves would have made us look desperate. Because true strength doesn't need constant validation. And because we wanted you to underestimate us long enough for us to be certain, absolutely certain, that when we finally spoke, you would have no choice but to listen. She placed a data crystal on the Council's central podium. Our terms for cooperation, fair trade agreements, technology sharing protocols, mutual defense pacts, and one non-negotiable condition: humanity will never again be judged by assumptions rather than achievements. The vote on the Quarantine Act's repeal was unanimous. Earth had stayed silent for 200 years. But when the galaxy finally heard humanity's voice, they learned that silence had never been submission. It had been preparation, and humanity was done preparing.